5.
6.
2026. Get that one right. Okay, 22 March 19. And we're in a different room today because electricity problems. So we're continuing with our chapter 8, Madhya Lila, and I'll begin. Agyan timirandasya gyananjala shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jina tasmai shri guruve namaha guruve gauda chandraya radhikaya tadale krishnaya krishna bhaktaya thara bhaktaya namo namaha Shri Chaitanya manobishtam shtapitam jina bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabala Sarupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo, Samara Payatam, Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Haripurata Sundarata Tikatam Basatipita, Sadakritare Kandare Suratu Vasachinandanaha. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshashtamoka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sri Radhey Kripam Buddhayastamaham Prabhadye Yam Prabhajantamanapetya Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuha Papa Putre Titam Matayottara Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prabhana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Pajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our dearmost Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada and Sastang Dandavat pranams to our dearmost Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami and all our Rupanuga, Guru Varg, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to everyone. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we've just begun to examine what is the ultimate goal of life. Mahaprabhu is asking this question for our benefit. Close the window. For our benefit. He wants to chalk out step by simple step the process. There are many instructions in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, which all indicate what is the ultimate purpose of life, what is the ultimate goal of life. And some have different emphases on them. And we need to know clearly how this can all be reconciled. We're going to go step by step. For example, Krishna will say in Bhagavad Gita, this verse we've just had, Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi Yajitosi Dadasirat. This verse, yes, just a second. Yat tapasya kuntaya tat kurushva mad arpanam. So we've just had this verse saying that higher than varnashram, which we discussed a couple of days ago, is to give all the fruits of your activities to Krishna. And Mahaprabhu is walking past this verse, saying, no, this isn't the sadhya. There's something beyond there. Take me higher. So I want to share today from my Gurudev's commentary on this verse, which is very illuminating. I'm not, as I said last time on Tuesday, I'm not rushing through this chapter. We should examine especially these next 4 or 5 verses so that we can capture the essential meaning of it and know where, and know about these truths, not just walk past them and leave them behind. Oh yes, no, Nishkam Karma, leave that behind, then walk on. What is Nishkam Karma? This has to be examined. It would be better to examine it. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has said something so much illuminating in the commentary. My Gurudev explains even further than this. He goes further from this verse. So this is his commentary in this Ramananda Rai Samvad book. So I'm going to read through here, and then I'm going to go into the next verse and also read his commentary there, so that we can examine these stages and why Mahaprabhu is saying, no, this is not the ultimate sadhya, that there's more. So now my Gurudev is explaining this term, Mad Arpanam. Mad Arpanam in the verse means offering unto me. This is what the term Mad Arpana means in the verse of Bhagavad Gita. So today is going to be a study class. Just want us all to be aware of this. So the term Mad Arpana speaks here of the independent Savishesh Tattva. Sa Vishesh means with form. Nir Vishesh means without form. So Sa Vishesh means with form. So we're describing the personality of Godhead with form. Not Brajendranandan Sham Sundar yet. This is not what's been indicated at this point in the Bhagavad Gita. And it's described in the absolute truth possessed of all transcendental attributes without a touch of the material nature within him. This is the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu, or we can say Lord Narayan. Understanding clearly? Its use refutes the notion that the Supreme is Nirvishesh. So by expressing this form of the personality, we understand that we're not talking about the Brahman here. We're talking about the personality. But who is that personality? And is that the goal to actually walk towards that is being described here? Giving up all the fruits of your activities and dedicating them completely to him? So its use refutes the notion that the Supreme is Nirvishesh, devoid of form and other characteristics. This Nishkarm Karma process, this is what we're describing, Nishkarm Karma Yoga, in which one performs one's prescribed duties and offers the results to Bhagavan with no desire to enjoy the fruits, is also known as Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So Gyan Mishra Bhakti means that bhakti is practiced, but it's mixed with Gyan of Krishna's Aishwarya. This is what the Gyan refers to. And if you're worshipping Krishna in full Aishwarya, it's almost like worshipping the Virat Rupa form, in a sense. Maybe a little bit more than that, but it's in that same state of consciousness, the great, great personality of Savishesh. This is what is described. Jnana Mishra, devotion mixed with the desire for liberation. My Gurudev makes it very, very clear when he's speaking this description. If we're performing Gyan Mishra Bhakti, it means that I have ultimately an intention to achieve liberation from the suffering in the material world. That's why I'm doing it. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that in this verse, Bhagavan suggests the practice of offering everything to the Lord, Bhagavat Arpita Bhakti, for those who denounce devotion performed with personal interest. If you don't have personal interest, then give up all your fruits to the Lord. This is called Sakam Bhakti. Where does Sakam Bhakti come in the list? In Brihat Bhagavatamrita, there are 5 descriptions. It starts with Prahlad Maharaj, and then it goes to Ambarish Maharaj, and then it goes to Hanuman, and then it goes to the 5 Pandavas, and then it goes to Uddhav. Who comes even before that? It's not even mentioned. The Sakam Bhaktas. Who is that? That's Dhruva. Yes, Dhruva Maharaj. He was performing his devotion with a specific desire for the fruit. He wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather, greater than Lord Brahma. So where do I get to now? Someone got this book also? Okay. We're on page 44. I'm reading from page 44 in this book, if you can follow, if you have this book. I mentioned a couple of days ago I wanted to reference this in conjunction with our study of Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai has to be studied. We can hear the sequences, but if we don't enter into a description of each sequence, how will you really know the nature of these sequences in a significant way? If you already know these truths, wonderful. But it's always wonderful to refresh them anyway. So this is what I'm doing here. Yet who is unable to abandon karma and gyan completely? And who do not have the qualification to perform one-pointed devotion, Ananya Bhakti? Who has the qualification for Ananya Bhakti? Ananya Bhakti is the topmost Bhakti. I'll interject here with a very simple example. There's 2 devotees. One is a Nishkarm Karma Bhakta, and one is a Shuddha Bhakta. And they come into a temple and there's a donation box. They both give $100 into the donation box. There's a difference in the giving. The Nishkarm Karma Yogi is thinking, this is my $100. I am giving my $100. The Shuddha Bhakta, he knows this $100 already belongs to Krishna, I'm just giving it him back. So there's a marked distinction, even though they're doing the same activities. There's a big distinction between the two. So this is what we're coming to understand, these fine, subtle points. If we understand these points, then we can so much more appreciate the nature of this conversation. Ramananda Rai is going to open out totally, completely, from Shraddha to Prem to Mahabhav within these verses, all the way through. He's going to show the complete sadhya. So we have to describe these early stages very carefully, because most of us are in these stages. We're going through these stages. We have to be familiar with the terminologies and understanding them, etc. This practice can hardly be called Shuddha Nishkarm Karma Yoga, as this name is awarded only to action that is performed according to the injunctions of Shastra, as an offering to Bhagavan. A person's ordinary eating and drinking habits may not be included in this. It has to go beyond just our basic ideas of we're offering our bhoga, so it becomes prasadam, so that I'll be liberated if I'm doing the right thing like that. It's not sufficiently devoted. Yeah. It's not that I'm going to the market and think, what would Krishna like to eat today? Or maybe Krishna is in this pastime. What is this pastime? And I'm examining everything for his pleasure from the very beginning. And then all the way through the cooking, I'm thinking of Krishna's pleasure, Krishna's pleasure. This is a much higher stage than Nishkarm Karma Yoga. This is on the Shuddha Bhakta stage. So we have to appreciate these stages. Thus, unable to understand the process of exclusive ananya. Ananya means that bhakti which is one-pointed, ananya, one-pointed bhakti. Unable to understand the process of exclusive ananya bhajan, are instructed to offer all of their activities, like eating and drinking, to Bhagavan. They're unable to understand the full picture. In much the same way, the worship of the universal form of Bhagavan is recommended for those unable to properly conceive of the established truths regarding the actual object of worship, namely Sri Krishna. This is what I said in the beginning. This Nishkam, you're worshipping Bhagavan. He's the independent truth. So is the Virat Rupa. Yeah. How is the Virat Rupa described in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam? It's described 5 times by Shukadeva Goswami, the Virat Rupa. Why? To give general people a common idea of the greatness of Krishna, and just to inspire them to put Krishna as the object of their devotion everywhere. Even though this is not described as pure bhakti, but still Shukadeva Goswami goes to the length of describing it. It's 3 times in the second canto and twice in the third canto, or maybe 2 times in the second canto, 3 times in the third canto.
2 times in the second canto.
2 times in the second canto, 3 times in the third canto. It's a significant point that Shukadeva Goswami is bringing out for us, to worship the Virat Rupa. If people, for example, don't know anything about bhakti, if they begin to have faith in that supreme, that they can see in the atmosphere around them, they can appreciate in Mother Earth giving the crops and so on, the trees and everything around them as being connected and part of Krishna, then their faith, their shraddha in that supreme Lord will be strong. Yeah. But it's not taking you near Braj.
Yeah, they forced
Yes, it's out of fear. Mahaprabhu's mission is to give Rag Marg ultimately. Always bear this in mind. Where is he taking us? He's taking us beyond the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. This will be explained. We're going to do 2 more verses on Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita ultimately gives the conclusion of Sharanagat. Sharanagat has to be there, but it's not the goal of life. Sharanagat. And it's described, I've said many times, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj gives this very beautiful analogy. Sharanagat is like getting dressed. You have to get dressed to go on the street every day, but the purpose of life, an object of life, is not just to get dressed. That's not the objective of life, right? Right? Even though you have a wardrobe packed full of clothes, but the purpose of life is not to get dressed. The purpose of life is to perform your activities in the world. So, and Sharanagat, also we should understand why we're talking about that, is that it's about you being surrendered, you being submissive, you being humble, but it's not about Krishna. It's not, what does Krishna want? What will bring him pleasure? Oh, I am so great, it will bring Krishna pleasure by me being Sharanagat. Okay, we can say like that, but that's not really, it's still got were the gopis running to Krishna, thinking, oh, I'm so surrendered, Krishna, look at me, I've run in the middle of the night? Were they having even a thought of that? They were only thinking 100% of Krishna's pleasure from the very beginning. So this is the high stage that Mahaprabhu wants to come to. This is his gift. This Ramananda Rai is his gift to humanity. That's why we should be diligent and go through each of these stages that are being proposed very correctly. Because Mahaprabhu has told Ramananda Rai, according to Shastra, and according to Shastra there are many stages, there are many verses saying this, etc. So we're trying to be familiar with the Shastra and understand what is the supreme sadhya, ultimately. So, in much the same way, the worship of the universal form of Bhagavan is recommended for those unable to properly conceive of the established truths regarding the actual object of worship, namely Sri Krishna. It's a high stage. I mean, do you remember when you first came to devotional service? Perhaps from a Western background, you hadn't even heard of God. You had no idea of the personal form of God. So that impersonal nature had to be purified just to come to the personal, and then to understand the nature of the person. How many aspects are there to the nature of the personality of Godhead? Is he Narayan? Is he Ram in Ayodhya? Is he Dwarkadish? Is he Mathuresh Krishna? Or is he Brajendra Nandan Shah? They're all quite distinct characteristics of the one Lord. Just as the Brahman is the one Lord, we can say. But is that our object of worship? Is Paramatma our object of worship? It's still the Lord. We've said before how Ganesh, he couldn't understand this. That Krishna is 3 yet he's 1. He broke his pen trying to figure this one out. but Bhagavan. And then who is Bhagavan? How many gradations of Bhagavan are there described in the scripture? So this is, instead of us in our very brief short lives studying all of the Upanishads, all the Puranas, all the scriptures, we don't have time for all of that. Mahaprabhu is compressing it all into one remarkable conversation with Ramananda Roy. Thus, the performer of the activity is still the recipient of the fruit of action. That's what I've just explained about Sharanagati. You're still getting the fruit of your action by surrendering. You yourself make the surrender. You feel good to surrender. It feels like a weight has lifted off your head. I'm no longer thinking of my own desires prominently, and I'm surrendering everything to Krishna. I'm giving everything to Krishna. This is still in your area of advantage. You understand what I'm saying? You're still getting something from that. This is what he's saying here. So thus the performer of the activity is still the recipient of the fruit of action, which is indicated by the Atmapada form of the verb kurusva. This is the last word in this, or the last line of this. It says tat kurusva mad arpana. So we're describing this word kurusva, and this word kurusva in the word for word is described as just do. So just do, like a directive, just do. Meaning to perform, just perform these activities. Furthermore, the verse makes no mention that this practice relates directly to Bhagavan. It's not saying in the verse that this is all to be given to, it just says you should give up all these mentalities. Right? Do you understand? Yat karoshi, yadashnasi. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, you. The emphasis is there on you. You're computing this, you're thinking this, what am I doing? Does everyone understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. It is actually incredibly simple. You're just taking the I, me, and mine out of this verse.
Yeah.
This is ultimately what it's doing. So, furthermore, the verse makes no mention of this practice relating to directly to Bhagavan. It's not saying directly Bhagavan in the verse. So therefore, this verse can be rejected by Mahaprabhu. The practice of the ninefold process of devotional service, known as Navada Bhakti, begins when the sadhak completely surrenders himself to Bhagavan, Sri Vishnu. But here, by contrast, the activity is performed first and then offered to Bhagavan. Everything that you eat, I give up. But it's not that I'm just giving it straight to Krishna. For this reason, the type of devotion being discussed is not to be equated with bhakti yoga. Indeed, it is not even considered one of the limbs of bhakti. My Gurudev is always very emphatic. He can see. He knows what is the truth. He's not trying to put sugar coating on it. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had to put sugar coating on it because he was speaking to people coming just out of the forests with meat all over their faces. You know, he had to make it palatable. My Gurudev has come 20 years later. He's kindly giving it you direct, which is what our dear Kartik likes. Absolutely direct. He's not pussyfooting around the bush. He's giving, this is not even a limb of bhakti yoga, and it's not. Bhakti, what does bhakti mean? Anyabilasita shunyam. It means you're fully giving every atom of your desire to Krishna. You understand? It's a distinction here. So this is that verse, Yat Karoshi Yadasana. That's verse 60. Then yesterday we went through verse 61. Mahaprabhu is saying, this is external. This was Mahaprabhu's response.
We have to start from 61 today.
Oh, we haven't done 61? Okay, so we'll read 61. Yes. Okay.
प्रभु कहे हो बाह्य आगे कहार राय कहे स्वधर्म त्याग ही साध्य सार.
Translation. This is also external. Was that thunder?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's been hot here and that was thunder.
It's raining.
Huh?
It's drizzling outside.
Okay, wonderful. This is also external. This is why we don't have electricity today. We're in another room. This is also external. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, please proceed and speak further on this matter. Ramananda Roy replied, to give up one's occupational duties in the Varnashram is the essence of perfection. Now he's saying, go beyond there and to give up one's duties. The Varnashram principally is a description of one's occupational duties. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And then in the ashrams, this
Brahmachari
Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So these are the Varnas and the ashrams. This is the duty. Varnashram is about duty. It's got a mood of fear. One should perform his duty, otherwise the sky will fall on your head and you won't get any fruits from your practices. You won't move forward. So this dutiful mood is fully Vaidhi Bhakti, but it's a very important part of communal life, we can say, in the social order. I was talking to one devotee today and he was mentioning, I already understood this, I might have mentioned it before, that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, at the end of his life, had one regret that he was sharing with the devotees. I haven't been able to institute this Varnashram Dharma system. Kali Yuga is too fallen. People are too smashed. They get too confused I explained this last time, thinking, oh, I am a Brahmana. All of a sudden some pride will come. Oh, I am a Kshatriya. He'll want to walk around fighting with everyone or something. He probably won't understand. Oh, I am a Vaishya. I'm only doing this. But actually a Vaishnava does all of these activities. He's not restricted by any ashram or varna. 100%. Just because you're a Brahmana doesn't mean you can't wash the floor, doesn't mean you can't clean Krishna's pots. For some, Srila Bhakti-Vigyan Bharati Maharaj describes when he first came to the Math, he was very, very Paka Brahmin family. And he had a hard time even accepting prasadam from a hand of a non-Brahmin. So many things he shared with us about his experience when he came. And he had to make a massive change of consciousness to accept Vaishnavism. It's very wonderful, because he had to go through that experience so he could share that experience with us. So Krishna put him in that position. So the purport, a Brahmana may renounce his family and accept sannyas. Others also, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, may also give up their families and take to Krishna consciousness. Such renunciation is called karma tyag. By such renunciation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied. He's satisfied that you can do that. However, this renouncing of one's activities to Krishna is not uncontaminated. There's some flaw here. And it is therefore on the material platform. This is the massive thing we have to constantly be considering. What is material? If my desires are rolled amongst my practice, then it is material if I'm on the false ego platform. When I'm on the transcendental stage, then that can be termed as coming to a point of bhakti. But most of our practices initially, especially this indication for Nishkaram Karma Yoga, and then giving up the fruits of one's activities, these are still applicable to the body. Therefore, it's material. Simple, really, but we have to hear it regularly. So when we're reading Bhagavad Gita, we know also Mahaprabhu did not accept this, as he says in the next verse. Therefore, on the material platform, such activities are considered within the material universe because, according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they refer to the material universe and are therefore external. To correct this, Ramananda Roy recommended that one take to the renounced order of life in order to transcend material activities. This is supported by the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:11:32. So now we'll come to this next verse. Okay.
Agya evam gunan doshan mayadhishtanapi svakana dharman santyajya sarvan mama bhajet sacha sattamaha.
So this verse is saying, Ramananda Roy continued, occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults, and then give them up completely to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a person is considered a first-class man. Now, I want to read my Gurudev's commentary on this verse 61, where Mahaprabhu is saying, Prabhu kahe eho bhaye, ega kahe ara. On this verse, my Gurudev gives a lengthy description, which is the background to the next verse we've come to. So I think we should hear this. So, the translation that my Gurudev gives, this is also external. Speak on this matter, Ramananda Roy replied, to give up one's swadharma, or occupational duties in the Varnashram system, is the essence of perfection. In other words, sannyas. So now the commentary. Swadharma tyag, abandoning Varnashram dharma. There are two types of swadharma. To practice Varnashram dharma with the desire to enjoy the fruits of one's activities and to offer one's work and its result to Krishna without desiring to taste the fruits. That's the first type. Sriman Mahaprabhu declared both of these to be external. You're renouncing your activities and you're even renouncing the desire for the fruits or the taste of your activities. It's a very high stage. Don't think just because Mahaprabhu's walking past it that we shouldn't initially incorporate this into our lives. It's part of our growth, our progressive development. That's why I'm reading these commentaries carefully. It should be there, and then you can reject it. Once you've actually understood it and practiced it and embraced it, then you can reject it. But prior to that, you can't. You understand? Yeah. It's clear. The sequence so far has been as follows. This is interesting. It was first suggested that Varnashram was the perfect goal, living in harmony in the social order of life, because Varnashram is Daivi Varnashram. Krishna instigated it. So to actually practice that must be the perfection of life. Yet Mahaprabhu designated it as external, because by this process one cannot attain prema bhakti. This is the point that my Gurudev brings in constantly. You won't attain prema bhakti or raganuga bhakti even. What to speak of mounting the staircase of prem? So you don't even start the staircase to prem because you're restricted by vaidhi, restraints. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Right? The Varnashram order, the Brahmana, mood, life, Smarta Brahman is like that, right? Next, offering the fruits of one's activities, or karma arpana, was presented as the ultimate goal. Right? That's really high.
Yeah, of course.
But Sriman Mahaprabhu also determined that as external, based on the prior statement. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. Bhakti only comes from bhakti. Bhakti, this is described in Madhurya Kadambini in the first chapter very beautifully. Bhakti herself is inspiring the bhakti in the heart because it's an individual choice to run towards Krishna. It's not by your good credits, your pious activities that bhakti is going to come. That would mean that bhakti is subjective to karma. And it's not by any other arrangement. except the only way this bhakti can be inspired is one. Yes, bhakti, but the only way it can manifest is by guru. The only way the wood can ever be ignited is by another piece of wood on fire. Understand? It's so sublime because it's so simple. I'm not a scholar by Krishna's mercy. So therefore, I can understand simple things. So I think I'm explaining this very simply. To me, it's very logical and rational. 1, 2, 3, 4 stages. We haven't even come to prem yet. Next, offering the fruits of one's activities, or karma arpana, that's what it's called, was presented as the ultimate goal. But Srimad Mahaprabhu also determined that as external based on the prior statement, bhakti sanchataye bhakta. Bhakti only comes from bhakti. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. 11th canto is the abhideya, is the methodology to reach the prayojan. The prayojan is discussed previously in the 10th canto. And the 11th and 12th cantos describe the means to attain the prayojan. If you don't hear about the prayojan, why should you bother to try and attain it? Yeah. And the first 9 cantos are just about sambandha, about developing your relationship with the Supreme. If that relationship is sambandha, we discussed last night in Jai Vedama, that Lahari Maharshai was very much trying to attain bhav, but he wasn't clear on what is bhav. He was using his imagination to invoke emotions and thinking that that was bhav, bhakti. But he hadn't even understand, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says clearly, Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan is talking about the 3 essential vastus. Jiva, Bhagavan, and Maya. And what is the relationship between these 3? We cannot really progress chanting Hare Krishna unless we understand these 3 vastus. This is why in the first chapter and second chapter, these 3 vastus are opened up by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. What is a vastu? It can't be, it's like an element, it can't be broken down. Krishna, the jiva, and Maya. These are all eternal factors that can't be changed. So what is the relationship between them? The commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Swami, writes in this verse, Bhaktya sadhana, bhakti sanjataya prem lakshanaya. Prem bhakti only arises from sadhan bhakti. What does that mean? We know this verse, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kavunai. But it's saying here that bhakti can't arise from sadhan. And now Sridhar Swami, the most respected commentator, is saying that it can arise from sadhan. How do you reconcile this? Because without performing the sadhan, you won't get the mercy of Guru to ignite your spirit soul. So both are correct. There's no anomaly. This is why we need to study the scripture. Because if you just read it, you might think, well, that's different from the verse. It's saying sadhan bhakti, you can't attain the sadhya. But you haven't cultivated your field to have the adhikar to hear the pure devotee's sound vibration. You understand? Yeah. It's beautiful. It's all synchronized all the way through. It's all all the dots. When we look at the Shastra closely, this is why I wanted to read these explanations very clearly. Yeah. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that for those who are incapable of entering into bhajan, incapable, you don't have the adhikar, you cannot. How many people sit and try to think, oh, I'm going to perform bhajan today and chant? You can't just, even you've been chanting for so many years, you still, what is the nature of bhajan? This smaranam. Are you having these visions in your mind? Are you actually walking in the leelas? How to just come into, this is described in the 38th chapter of Jai Vedama. We go through all these chapters describing what is even bhakti tattva, what is rasa tattva, what is shakti tattva, maya tattva, jiva tattva. All of these tattvas fully described. And then perhaps we have some little idea of what is bhajan. Just an idea, but not actually able to actually enter. So he's saying here, for those who are incapable of entering into bhajan, this really applies to the poor souls suffering in the atmosphere of Kali Yuga. We're not poor souls at all. We're the most privileged, fortunate souls in existence, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has empowered these teachings himself. And we have an opportunity to actually come to the highest conception known to man of appreciating the love of the gopis for Sri Krishna. That's all we have to do. This is our objective. This is what was described, as we said many times, in chapter 4 of Adi Lila. So it's saying, incapable of entering into bhajan, verses such as Yat Karoshi have been spoken. I'll read that again. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that for those who are incapable of entering into bhajan, verses such as Yat Karoshi have been spoken. It's a step. It's a staircase. First to prem, and then from prem, sneha, man, rag, anurag, bhav, mahabhav. There's a progression on the other side of prem. We should hear about these things. And sometimes some desire and greed, because that's the only requirement, is greed, may be inspired in the heart to progress up this staircase. Do you want to go up the staircase? It requires dedication and seriousness. And how many rounds a day? 64 rounds a day. Don't pretend. If you want this, if you want anything in life, you have to do an effort. You can't compromise on this. Well, Prabhupada says 16. Yes, 50 years ago he said 16. Haven't we grown since then? No. We just do what Prabhupada said. Yes, we do what Prabhupada said. And read what he's saying in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. How to go further. There's no contradiction again. By properly performing one's role in the Varnashram system, the mind is gradually purified. Take that point. This is why Prabhupada wanted to establish Varnashram, to purify the darkness that was clouding the consciousnesses of all those Western devotees he was speaking with. He knew that the Varnashram system was going to purify, take those clouds away, and let them begin the process of bhakti. When those clouds are still there, they're still battling with elementary anarchas, etc. They have to be purified, cut to pieces. Mind is gradually purified. By not following one's prescribed duties, one incurs a fault. If there's a fault, how can you possibly come to the highest stage of bhakti? A fault means like an obstacle. You know, something that you can't climb over. A fault in our own development. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in particular, he points out these faults in the second chapter of that Madhuri Kadambini. Ganatarala, Utsamayi, all of these different Tarangarangini, all these different Anishtita bhakti, what is there? By not following one's prescribed duty, one incurs. Therefore, it is best to execute one's prescribed duties. However, if one abandons this process in order to perform bhakti, he who abandons this process in order to perform bhakti is the topmost sadhu. It's complete contradiction. First of all, it's saying follow these things, and then it's saying abandon these things. Does it make sense? Do you understand? It's like you have to go to kindergarten and you have to study certain things. You know, give me an example. In kindergarten, they teach you A, B, C, and you get very excited about A, B, C, but you haven't even begun to string the words together yet to make them into words. And when you string them into words, you don't have to keep referencing A, B, C all the time. Often I give the example of like a musician, he has to learn A, B, C, D, E, all the different sharps and different notes and everything. But when he starts playing the music, it's the last thing he's thinking about. That's at a very advanced stage. He has to go through all this study with his teacher. And he has to understand the nature of this. What to speak of if you get into the most elevated forms of music that in Ananda Vrindavan Champu in the Ras Leela is described. All the tals and the different sound vibrations and all the different ragas that are there. They are so intricate. I'm just reading a few pages of that. It's like phenomenal. But unless you have understood that, how can you go to the next stage? So in other words, it's saying the same thing here. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Tarvat karmani kurvata na nirvedyata yavataha mat kata shravanado iva shraddha yava na jayate. This is again from the 11th canto, chapter 20. As long as a feeling of detachment from this world of work and its concomitant fruits, concomitant means natural fruits that come from our work. When you work, you get some remuneration, culminating in the happiness of the heavenly planets, has not arisen, or in other words, as long as faith in hearing and chanting narrations of my pastimes has not awoken, the many rules and regulations in regard to the performance of karma must be followed. Unless that secret truth has actually arisen, then you must follow carefully the prohibitions, etc. of karma. The rules, and that is embodied in Varnashram system. That is the support for that. If one who is indifferent to hearing narrations about Sri Krishna abandons his swadharma, his own dharma, before a taste in hearing has arisen, that's a phony, that's a false person. We're familiar with this in the world. You know what a phony is? Someone who pretends they're practicing paradharma, someone else's dharma. They're trying to be something that they're not. You have to be honest in your profession, in your nature. You have to allow, because that's your strength.
Shreyanshu dharma viguna.
Ah. Yes. Yes, it's like a hypocrite thing. Before a taste in hearing has arisen, he will fall into a degraded condition because he won't be able to maintain. What we have the example, you can remember, who is that personality? That Vishwamitra?
Vishwamitra?
He wanted to become a Brahmana, is it Vishwamitra?
Yeah.
Or that his disciple wanted to become a Brahmana, and he tried to enter the heavenly world, and they rejected him because he wasn't really. And then he couldn't even come back again. So now he's actually lingering between the worlds. What's the name of that? You don't remember?
Forgetting.
Okay, so anyway, this pastime is there of one personality who couldn't enter the heavenly worlds and couldn't even come back here. That's an example of someone trying to follow paradharma. We spoke about this on Tuesday. At the end of Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, is described what follow your swadharma. He's saying to Arjun, you are a Kshatriya by nature. You're trying to be a Brahmana. You can't be successful in this road. You're trying to...
Also in Ramayana, the one Shudra who's reading Vedas and all.
Who?
One Shudra who's reading Vedas. Then Ram kill him. Lord Ram kill him. A Shudra who is reading...
I don't remember that. I remember the pastime of Ekalavya.
Yeah.
Ekalavya was also not qualified by Dronacharya and had to give his thumb.
It is like jumping over the Adhikar kind of thing or not?
Yeah, you're imagining you're more qualified than you actually are. There can't be any strength in that. This is also difficult to understand because we have to be very humble to realize our nature. At the same time, we have to be hopeful of appreciating our actual essential nature.
It is like
of
those
spirit
who are,
soul.
No, it is like those who are businessmen. They are acting as a, politician. Acting as a, leading the city. Brahmana should be lead, but
Yes.
those who are Vaishya
Yes.
is leading. So
Very good.
chaos.
Actually, they're not Vaishya, they're even Shudra.
Shudra.
Even lower sometimes. The politicians, etc. They are the exact example. They're leading the nation, but but they have zero qualification because they have no developed empathy, humility, or forgiveness. Forgiveness is the quality of the Brahmana. This is where we're all fighting on this planet now, and not a single person is thinking, I'm going to forgive Iran, I'm going to forgive Israel, I'm going to forgive America. No one is, China, no one is even thinking in that area.
Yeah.
No one is even a smell of Brahminical behavior. Therefore, they are all unqualified for this position.
Yeah.
Therefore, what is the result? Absolute mayhem, chaos, death. Wonderful. This is Kali Yuga. Kali Maharaj is celebrating. Great. Look what I've orchestrated. Kali Maharaj. He loves it.
But we see most of the time Brahmanas giving shrap and not kind of representing non-tolerance of kind of thing.
Everything today in the Varnashram system we described, Prabhupada is writing, is jeopardized. It's a reflected reality. It's a reflected version of the reality. This Varnashram, that means the Brahmanas today, they're not, any of them are not real Brahmanas. By quality, just by birth, they are called what? Smarta. Smarta Brahma. We just have to know these things. We don't have to make a big drama about them. We simply have to be aware, put them in their place, put them in our understanding, and then go on with the process. Don't start creating big issues about these sorts of things. So taste and hearing has arisen. He will fall into a degraded condition. Such a person surrenders to Bhagavan because he fears the results of his good and bad karma, not because he has praying for the Lord. That is such a wonderful sentence.
Yeah.
He doesn't have praying. That's not the reason for his surrender. The reason for his surrender, he wants his good results and he doesn't want his bad results. It's all about him. You understand?
Liberation.
The focus is, yes, liberation ultimately. Let me be happy here. These are significant topics to appreciate. And this Ramananda Rai, beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful, okay. Confirmed. Confirmed from the heavens. Okay. I wonder if that came out in the sound of the video. I read that sentence again because understand, some of these sentences are jewels. Such a person surrenders to Bhagavan because he fears the results of his good and bad karma, not because he has praying for the Lord. Did the gopis fear anything to do with their karma?
No.
They only had that high, utmost, topmost praying for the Lord. Sriman Mahaprabhu has labeled abandoning the Varnashram dharma external. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has clearly said, Yadrichya mat karatado, Cheta shradas tuya puman, na nivino nata shakto bhakti yoga siddha daha. By virtue of spiritual merit attained in their previous births, those who are neither repelled nor overly attached materially. So you're not like a tyagi and you're not like a gross sense enjoyer. You are harmonious with the whole situation. If you go too much one way or the other, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he gives that. He says, Bhakti is, it's not excessive renunciation, and neither does it come into the area of excessive enjoyment. It comes in the area of dedication to Krishna. I don't think I've got that quite right, but there's two sides of the same coin, but our path is dedication. Our path is to come in the middle here. Neither repelled nor overly attached materially, and in whom faith in discussions of my pastime has awakened, are eligible to take to bhakti. Bhakti Devi then confirms perfection upon them. So it takes time. She will bestow. How does that happen? Because that pure bhakti in the heart will begin to arise, and then one will have the qualification to come in contact with someone who does have pure bhakti. It's only by that grace that that pure bhakti will actually manifest. But first one has to have a desire for pure bhakti. If one hasn't even, that desire has, that's why sudden is, that's why we just read before, Sri Swami is saying that bhakti only arises from sudden bhakti. The sudden bhakti is cultivating the field, this is what we said. And then the Mahabhagavat will be attracted to give you that Shuddha bhakti. The execution of Swadharma has been termed external because by following Varnashram Dharma, one will act according to his material nature. That's another really powerful statement. Acting in Varnashram system will be according to your social material nature. A Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, etc. Your material qualification, how it's manifested. Srila Rupa Goswami has said in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.260, Shastrataha Suryate Bhakto Nriya Matra Shuddhyakarita. In every person, it is every person's birthright to accept devotional service. This is substantiated in many scriptures. It's our birthright because we are Vibhinamsa. We are separated parts of the Lord. Even that person who does not follow Varnashram has the qualification to worship Vishnu. This is what the verse is saying. This is the explanation of the verse. The partial quote from this verse is an unequivocal statement to that effect. That you can worship Vishnu, but even Vishnu is considered like the maintainer of the earth, of the world, of all the devas. But that's not our supreme sadhya. We are going beyond that. So this next verse, we're going to open out now. We'll just touch it a little bit and we'll go into it tomorrow. So you've already chanted this verse, Agnayavam Gunan Doshan, right?
Yeah.
You've just said this verse.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to read the translation again from my Gurudev's book here. O Uddhav, because this is from the 11th canto. In the 11th canto, Krishna is having a conversation with Uddhav, describing all these things. The astrological calculations at that time in Dwarka were indicating the whole of Dwarka is going to be inundated by the ocean.
Yeah.
It's finished. So Krishna is advising all the men to go to Prabhash and perform that yagya to offset the inauspicious omens, because they're seeing these omens. Jackals are howling, cows are crying, etc. Meteorites are falling. There's all these inauspicious omens in Dwarka that they perceive. Krishna allows them all to see that. And they all prepare themselves to go to Prabhash. In the meantime, there's a few hours left before they actually go. And this is when Uddhav approaches Krishna and he asks him many questions. This represents this Uddhav Geet. This Uddhav Geet is in this 11th canto. He talks about Bhakti Yoga. He talks about Varnashram. He talks about I had it just a minute ago. There's many topics there. Bhakti, he talks about Maya, he talks about Jiva Tattva, he talks about Gyan Tattva, 2-3 chapters about Gyan. Uddhav asks the most brilliant questions. The 24 gurus are described in this area by Krishna to Uddhav at this time. So many beautiful instructions are given there. So this is where this has come from. O Uddhav, my instructions concerning occupational duties are described in the scriptures. One who deliberates on their merits and limitations, that means the positive, the pros and cons, and then gives up Varnashram to perform bhajan, to me is the best of perfected persons. This is why we're reading this. To be elevated to become qualified to be the best of perfected persons. First of all, we have to understand it before we can give it up. If you try to give it up falsely, that's not going to be successful. You're not going to be able to have any strength because you've made the renunciation falsely. It has to be when you fully understand, what am I giving up? It's beautiful. So listen, I think I'm going to go through this tomorrow, because there's quite a nice, beautiful, lengthy description on this verse, on verse 62. So we're going very slowly through this particular section of Ramananda Rai, because it's packed solid with all these very fine-tuned descriptions. What is Varnashram? What is Nishkaram Karma Yoga? What is Sharanagat? What is Gyan Mishra Bhakti? What is Gyan Shunya Bhakti? And if we don't understand clearly these stages, then how can we enter into this topic with full understanding and cognition? We won't. We'll miss the juice, the heart of it. So I think I've said enough today. If you've listened attentively, I hope you will have absorbed some of that. It's quite simple.
Nice class.
It's just simple. It's just ABC. It's not on a high scholarly platform, although it is. Scholars miss it. Scholars don't catch it because they don't catch the mood of devotion. Like a jnani is someone who knows all the signposts leading to the object, but they don't actually follow the signposts and go to the object of devotion. They don't actually make that jump into the arena of devotion itself. They're just completely telling everyone, walk towards here, do this, do this, do this, do this. But they're not actually going themselves. You know, that the heart, their own hearts hasn't really melted if you're staying on the Gyan platform. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Shri Gurudev ki jai.